I feel like when I look at the Buste de Diego, I'm feeling human. There's something which is like he's nearly touching my soul.
This is Alberto staring his life directly in the eye. With every squeeze, cut, and gouge, we feel him modeling his mortality.
This is substantial, monumental. This is his magnum opus of what man is, of what Diego is, of what humanity is.
It has a mystical presence or a divine presence.
You get that duality, you get that it's both of this world, but also at the same time it's transcendent.
This is one of the defining images of the 20th century. This is Alberto Giacometti's Grande tête mince, his grand masterpiece from 1954.
He has three primary motifs: the standing woman, the walking man, and the bust. This is the bust. And this is, when I say the bust, I mean the bust. This bust of his brother Diego. This is the pinnacle of his work.
This unique painted cast is the ultimate expression of this devastating sculpture. This is grappling with profound philosophical themes like what is perception, what is representation, and what does it mean to be a human in the post-war world.
World War II is exactly in the middle of his practice. So clearly you can see someone reacting to the terrible things that happened during that period, or at least look at solutions or ideas of how to represent humankind, human body, a face, and make it universal.
During World War II, Alberto Giacometti spent the majority of his time in Switzerland. He continued to strip the figure down and down and down to its essence until it disintegrated within his hands. The legend is that he brought everything back to Paris that he'd created during the war in a dozen matchboxes. He wrestled after the war with building the figure back up. And here in 1954, he's finally really starting to create tangible, hefty, volumetric works. Diego was his most constant model. He had first sculpted him in 1914. They were just boys at the time. Giacometti born in 1901, Diego born in 1902. They wouldn't have memories without each other in them. Who better than Diego to be Alberto's image of man?
It's very clear here that the likeness is actually closest to Alberto's own head. So there's an ambiguous dual status here. This is both the artist and not the artist. Diego here becomes both muse and mirror. This sculpture snaps apart the paradox of perception. From the front, it's a knife blade slicing through the air, yet the side profile bears no relation.
Sculpture is all about 3D. He's suddenly giving you nearly only 2D.
You don't see someone in the round when you look at them straight on or from the side. They are two completely different experiences, and in this sculpture, he unites those two experiences in one. As you walk around it, all of a sudden it's extended. It's a completely different sculpture, a completely different perspective.
We see this in the ancient world with cycladic sculpture, which really boils down the essential elements of human form to lines and angles, and that's what you get here. But the spatial relationship to the piece is really dictating your experience.
Things look and feel different depending on your point of view. Perception is unfixed, it's contingent, it's provisional.
What's crazy with Alberto Giacometti, especially in a sculpture like this one, is that he's going to use the most classical aspect of sculptures. This is just figuration, this is just clay, this is just my hands molding a face and a bust. But at the same time, his way of sculpting is completely new.
If you could distill classical art into maybe one sentence, one could say that it's the pursuing of perfect mimetic representation of the human figure. And the head is probably the most essential part of humanity. But Giacometti is grappling with what happens when we have perfected how to show what a human really looks like. And he's pushing past mimesis to grapple with bigger questions. What is it like to be with someone? Not to look at someone, but to feel them.
It has a divine presence, a sort of mysticism that you see in other types of sculpture throughout the world and in the greatest sculptures.
It feels quiet and majestic in a way that I feel when I look at Egyptian sculpture, particularly Egyptian royal sculpture. Depicting the pharaoh, you're actually really looking at the closest thing you can get to a god on earth.
It really reminds me of a fang head, one of the great icons of African art. We're reminded that a sculpture can be so much more than a representation of the subject that it depicts.
For me, Giacometti represents a rebirth from this dark existential moment. A new iconography of humanity is born following the devastation of the war.
Every little piece of the sculpture has Alberto's hands on it.
It's something that we see in sub-Saharan African art where the tool marks are left there for the viewer to see. It's unapologetically unrefined.
Uniquely with this cast, that expressionistic surface is heightened with painted color.
He creates a more natural, more living, more engaged sculpture, one that to the viewer will seem more true.
So much of sculpture from antiquity, Egyptian, Greek, Roman, had polychromy. We just don't think of it that way because a lot of it hasn't survived. Giacometti is absolutely informed by that tradition.
It's both a painted sculpture and a sculpted painting, and actually Giacometti made no distinction between the two. Don't talk to me about painted sculptures, he said. The paint is actually part of the sculpture. It's made of color in the same way that a painting is made of oils.
Feeling with a sculpture like this will be probably very different depending on the person you're going to talk to.
It can be seen as an image of great despair, but it can also be seen as an image of great hope, of great realization that one is alive.
And that's why, like all great art, this sculpture is both profoundly of its moment, but also with the passing of time, it becomes universal and perhaps today feels more urgent and more essential than ever before.